Sadly, First Nation mob hold the highest rate of suicide in the entire world. Out of all people, they hold the highest rate of incarceration and amongst the lowest life expectancy. You still got people today, as we talk about that racism or talk about that ignorance or whatever it is, that energy, they still say, why don't you get the fuck over it, move on and be like the rest of us, get a job. What's wrong with you? Would you say something like that to the Holocaust survivors or the victims that have gone through their family? You know, there'd be a global uproar. How dare you? You know, would you say it to the diggers? Get the fuck over it, move on, it happened, you know what? You know, what's that saying they have for them? Lest we forget, you know? We never forget what they went through. Yet for mob, it's different. It's still not there. It's still like, what the hell's wrong with you? And the truth-telling part is that a lot of people don't actually know what's really happened here. And yet they come from this victimhood too, where they feel like, oh, I'm guilty, I need to feel bad. Man, for healing to happen, we all need to delve into that shadow. How do you truly unite and walk together if you don't know about the history of things that have gone on? Do some of you know that they used to bury Aboriginal children up to their necks and kick their heads off? You know? They used to cut off the women's private parts and make them run around and bleed to death and stab them in those. You know, the men, the same thing. These are just little fragments of a truth and a reality. Over here on the coast, you've got Murdering Creek. Women and children were slaughtered. That river ran with blood. My mum and my aunties talk about being spat in the face walking down the street just for being who they are. You know, those attitudes and things are still out there. And, you know, they are creating so many ripples that makes that healing very hard. Before, my grandmother couldn't even speak in language. She couldn't sing her songs. She wasn't allowed to dance. Under the White Australia policy, it was illegal. She would either be beaten or she'd be murdered if she did this stuff. And this is how much of that had to be suppressed and repressed and kept alive inside. This is not only healing for First Nation mob, we all carry that trauma. It's all of us here. And if we don't change it, if we aren't part of the change, part of that loving responsibility, then we are part of allowing that to keep going forward and that steamroller machine to ride over all of us, our children's 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 children, 7 generations at least ahead. So that truth-telling, bring it out to the surface. It's not about guilt. It's not about who's right and wrong. It's about the healing. And for that healing to happen, we will hear that language deeper and more so when we walk and that tree speaks to us, that bird speaks to us, that dirt speaks to us. And beyond just the words, when do you see government or those bodies coming and sitting in circle with our elders? That's when true healing will start to happen. Coming back to sitting in circle, coming back to remembering that we're all part of this dialogue together, this sense of belonging. We all belong and come back to that belonging in that unification, understanding that trauma is part of all of us. And this voice is the voice of all of us. When you burn away that old grass, it invites those new shoots, that new consciousness, that new collective awareness. We're as a collective, we're generally so pushed towards those in government or bodies up there are going to change something. But this is the true change, this grassroots right here, right now. All of these local, community-led things that are about bringing true awareness and change. And the truth-telling has to be a part of it. Bring that out, that knowledge, that awareness. Generations. Where did all those, children that were taken away, why were they? Because they had lighter skin under the White Australia policy. They go, we're going to take those children, but where did those lighter-skinned children, mainly from rapings? So not only do the women get raped, but they have their children stolen away. And then the next generation told to, get over it, move on, forget it, it's in the past. Still happens today, if anything, more than it has in the past, under different policies and different ways. So how is that a true reflection of being seen and validated and valued? We talk about viruses, especially over the past few years. You know, you want to know what the true virus is? That mentality that came here and saw what it saw here and started to disconnect and sever, that is the true virus that we need to watch. The virus of separation, the virus of division, the virus that you are my enemy because you think and look and act or believe different than me. Because they were doing that on the lands before they arrived here. Do you ever notice? And you know, it's not about colour of skin. Yes, that's when we walk in the forest, we know that the kookaburra, the lyrebird, the butcherbird, the magpie, we go, what a beautiful symphony. We don't look at their colours and go, that one's right, that one's wrong, that one should sing like that one. We look over at each other and do that. Again, that's a deviation from that natural law. Understanding our perception of each other and things are so influenced by this narrative of disconnection and separation. Look within, because many of us, if we don't take self-responsibility for adding to this, obviously, system, we can't truly change anything. We're sometimes throwing stones in the pond and going, why has it got ripples? I want to see smooth surf. But our hand is throwing those stones. And sometimes it comes from changing those perceptions and understandings within.